There is a secret the church never intended you to hear, a secret not buried, but erased. For centuries, two ancient beings, one angelic, one monstrous, appeared in every manuscript, every prophecy, every early Christian document, until, suddenly, they didn't. Their names vanished, their stories vanished, their warnings vanished, but fragments survived, hidden in forbidden scrolls, buried in monasteries, guarded by orders that no longer exist. And tonight, we reopen the door they tried to seal forever. Because if these beings were removed from Scripture, what were they trying to protect us from? What if the Bible we know today is not the Bible that once existed? What if the ancient world described a cosmic hierarchy, a supernatural structure so complex and disturbing that later councils decided humanity wasn't ready for it? What if angels were not the gentle guardians we imagine, and demons were not merely symbols of temptation, but intelligent entities that interacted with humanity directly? And what if their disappearance from Scripture was not a coincidence, but an operation? A deliberate removal, a rewriting of heaven and hell. Section 1. The first erasure. There is a being whose name once thundered across ancient texts, the Watcher of the East, a celestial guardian, a judge, a guide, and then nothing. Every reference suddenly stops after the 4th century. Every mention in early manuscripts is replaced with ellipses, or reinterpreted, or simply removed. But in 1948, when the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, fragments revealed something the Church never expected to resurface. The Watcher, who walked among men, whose eyes saw beyond the veil. Why was he removed? What did he witness? And more importantly, who wanted him gone? Section 2. The demon that should not exist. Not all erasures were angelic, some were demonic. There is one demon whose story appears in ancient Syriac texts, Ethiopian manuscripts, Gnostic writings, early Christian exorcism rituals, but never in the modern Bible. His name, Sariel's shadow. A creature described as the whisper between choices, the shadow cast by the soul. He didn't possess bodies. He possessed decisions, a being so subtle, so psychologically terrifying, that early church fathers feared his story would cause panic, because if Sariel's shadow existed, free will may not. And suddenly, around the 5th century, his name disappears from all official doctrine. Why? Did he lose power, or did humanity simply stop being allowed to know he exists? Section 3. The forbidden hierarchy. Forget the idea of angels versus demons. Ancient texts describe 9 orders, each with a counterpart, a mirror, a shadow, and 2 of these levels were completely removed. Why? Because they reveal a truth that flips the narrative. Angels were not created perfect, demons were not created evil. Both sides evolved, both sides fractured, both sides chose. In the forbidden hierarchy, the angelic being they erased was not merely a servant, but a rebel against heaven itself, before rebellion even had a name. And the demonic figure they erased was not a corrupter, but a warning, a reminder that even celestial beings could fall into ambiguity, into nuance, into gray. Too dangerous for doctrine, too complex for mass faith. So they vanished. By design. Section 4. The files the Vatican classifies. There is a vault beneath the Vatican. Most people know this, but few understand the truth. The vault contains letters between early popes, exorcism records, apocryphal scrolls, untranslated angelology manuscripts, but more importantly, the testimonies. Hundreds of accounts written by monks and bishops who claim to encounter beings they were not allowed to describe. Some entries are vague, but others are terrifyingly specific. It appeared neither holy nor damned. Its form was light, yet cast a shadow. It spoke, but its words were not permitted to be recorded. And next to many of these testimonies, a red stamp, non-licit. not permitted. Why? Because acknowledging these beings breaks the narrative. It suggests heaven is not silent, hell is not symbolic, and humanity is not as alone as the version of Scripture we know suggests. Section 5. The return of the missing beings. In the last 100 years, something unexpected happened. Mentions of the Watcher of the East reappear. Not in religious texts, but in diaries, in visions, in exorcism logs, in paranormal reports. And the same pattern appears across continents. A tall figure with luminous eyes standing at crossroads, not attacking, not blessing, observing, waiting, and Sariel's shadow. His descriptions match modern cases of impulsive moral collapse, untraceable psychological influence, sudden destructive decisions, not possession, influence, a whisper between what you want and what you become. If these beings were erased from Scripture, did they ever truly leave, or did we simply lose the ability to recognize them? Section 6. Patterns of return. Something strange began happening in the 20th century. Not miracles, not apparitions, not possessions, patterns. Across different countries, Japan, Brazil, Syria, Poland, Ethiopia, ordinary people began reporting the same figure, tall, luminous, silent, watching. Witnesses describe a feeling of being evaluated, a sudden clarity about decisions, dreams that repeat the same phrase, the watcher sees what you hide. Every sighting matches descriptions of the Watcher of the East, a being erased over 600 years ago. But here's the strange part. These sightings spike during global moral crises, wars, political upheaval, technological leaps, moments where humanity makes irreversible choices, as if the being erased from Scripture never stopped watching, as if he returned precisely when humanity needed or feared judgment the most. But one question remains. If he returned, did the shadow return too? Section 7. The shadow's influence. Sariel's shadow was feared by early theologians because he could influence decisions, not bodies. Today, psychologists call similar phenomena intrusive impulses, sudden moral inversions, catastrophic choices with no rational motive, shadow-like psychological episodes. But in 2021, a researcher at a European clinical center noticed something chilling. These events spike in clusters, grouped, timed, and each cluster follows an identical pattern described in a banned 3rd century manuscript. The shadow moves where free will weakens. It finds the place between choice and desire. And there, it whispers. Is this coincidence? Or is free will not as autonomous as we believe? And if the Watcher observes human choices, what if the shadow tests them? Section 8. The Vatican's Lost Calendar. In 1997, an Italian archivist leaked something extraordinary, a partial scan of the Calendarium Obscurum, the Dark Calendar, a classified Vatican document mapping supernatural activity across history. Most pages are missing, but what remains is enough to raise questions. According to the Calendarium, years of major moral decline coincide with shadow activity. Years of revelation and awakening coincide with watcher appearances. Several centuries are labeled years of silence. Why silence? Those centuries align with periods where councils actively rewrote Scripture, meaning when angels and demons were erased from texts, they also stopped appearing. Or perhaps they appeared, but someone prevented the world from knowing. And then, handwritten in the margin of one page, when both return, the cycle begins again. Section 9. The case the Church could not hide. There is one modern case the Vatican officially denies, but several independent investigators confirm. A monastery in Eastern Europe reported 2 simultaneous visitations. One described as a man of light with eyes like dawn, the other as a shadow bending the candle flames. The monks documented unexplained temperature drops, impossible light distortions, simultaneous emotional euphoria and dread, sounds not heard by ears but felt in the mind. For 3 days the monastery sealed itself. On the 4th day, a message was found carved into the stone floor. The erased do not forget. What does it mean? A warning, a threat, a reminder. And who carved it? The monks claim they didn't. Section 10, the missing 5th choir. The modern church recognizes 9 choirs of angels, but early manuscripts mention 10. The 5th choir is missing. Its name, the intercessors of choice, neither fully angelic nor fully neutral. They guided humanity through decisions that shaped history, quietly, invisibly. But their existence posed a theological problem. If humans were guided, did they truly possess free will? To preserve doctrine, the 5th choir was erased. But ancient descriptions of intercessors match the same patterns as watcher appearances, shadow manipulations, crossroad encounters, decision-based visitations, which means the watcher and the shadow might not be enemies, they might be counterparts. 2 halves of the same erased choir, one observing, one influencing, both shaping humanity's moral trajectory. Section 11, the prophecy of the crossroads. Among the documents in the Calendarium Obscurum is a prophecy known as the Crossroads Oath. It says, "When the erased awaken, mankind shall be tested. The watcher will stand where paths divide. The shadow will whisper where fear resides. And humanity will choose its future, not alone, but under their gaze." It ends with a chilling line. In the age of return, no choice is small. If this prophecy is true, then the current rise in sightings is not random. It's preparation for something approaching, a decision humanity must face. Section 12, the Vatican's silence. When journalists attempted to question the Vatican about the missing choir, forbidden beings, or the dark calendar, only one statement was given. These entities are not part of official doctrine. That's it. No denial, no explanation, no refutation, just not part of doctrine. Which leaves 2 possibilities. They never existed. They existed. But acknowledging them now would reveal too much. And considering the global rise of sightings, cases, and unexplained events, silence feels less like ignorance and more like strategy. Section 13, Final Revelation, the Era of the Erased. There is one final document from the Calendarium Obscurum. 1 page, almost too damaged to read, but 4 lines remain intact. The translation is haunting. When the erased return to walk the earth, their presence shall mark the great divergence. Where humanity goes next shall be shaped by the choices made under their watch. If the watcher observes choices, if the shadow influences choices, if both are returning now, then we are already inside the divergence, inside the test, inside the prophecy, right now. And the true question is not, why were these beings erased? The true question is, why are they coming back now?